Chapter 586. Devastating. Xianxia's presence should not possess a powerful might, because it was originally not very strong. It was rather faint, in truth. After all, it was an inheritance that lasted only till the third god of berserkers. There was not much left. However, if the monument's power to instill fear was used against the immortals who had trembled under Xianxia's might all those years ago, then the effect of this presence would reach a terrifying degree. This was not a suppression on one's cultivation base, neither was it going to cause Diqian any physical damage. Instead, it was something that would affect his heart, a mighty pressure that came from the soul itself. This mighty pressure would be stronger the greater was the immortal who had trembled in fear due to Xianxia's might. They would be like terrified birds who were injured by an arrow once and from then on would fall when they heard the sound of the bow again. Right then, Diqian behaved in the exact same way. Before he had made his name known, he had watched the first god of berserkers raining slaughter on the immortals. That mighty power and that terrifying massacre was his eternal nightmare. At the instant he sensed Xianxia's presence, Diqian's heart trembled, a sight rarely seen on him. That shock caused his mind and expression to go blank for a brief instant. That brief state of blankness was to Su Ming the chance he had been waiting for after all the preparations he'd made. It was also the reason behind why he prepared all the gifts for Diqian. At the instant the clone went into a daze, Su Ming pressed both his arms on the ground, and the red meadow immediately surged into the sky, and an area of more than thousands of feet could be seen surging up into the sky. Red fog seeped out from the meadow, and the instant it filled the air, Su Ming grabbed the flagpole and stabbed it into the ground. When he did so, the red fog that had spread out immediately gathered together, to turn into a gigantic shadow, and with a huge roar, it charged towards Diqian. At the same time, with a yank from Su Ming's right hand, all the grass from the meadow flew up and enveloped Diqian. Explode! Su Ming let out a low roar, and the instant the meadow enveloped the dazed Diqian, the flagpole let out a loud bang and exploded. The impact formed from it charged straight towards the clone. Almost the instant the red meadow collapsed, the shadow in the red fog grabbed Diqian's body, and right when it looked as if it was about to devour him, a look of struggle appeared on Diqian's face. Clearly, he was about to wake up from the sudden shock the first god of berserkers' presence had brought on him. There was no way Su Ming would waste this chance he had seized after so much difficulty. He formed a seal with both hands and swiftly pointed forward. Illusion of Great Yu. As he pointed forward, his nascent divinity swiftly spread out and fused into the debris from one of Great Yu's palaces in the collapsed meadow. The debris swiftly let out a powerful dark light, and as it shone, the dark light instantly enveloped Diqian within. The absent-minded look appeared once again, the signs of Diqian waking up disappearing. This happened because he had sank into the illusion of Great Yu. It was the Great Yu dynasty that Su Ming had brought up from his own thoughts after seeing the country itself with his own eyes. The level of authenticity in it was unparalleled. Right at the instant Diqian became dazed once again, Su Ming let out a low roar. Right then, a flash of black suddenly appeared, and that black light was naturally the killing move Su Ming had prepared, the small black humanoid. This creature was of unknown origins and had a mysterious background. Its strength could also not be deduced, but at the moment it appeared, it instantly entered Diqian's body. Su Ming seized the ground through the air with his right hand, and his body shot up. At the same moment he flew up, a virescent sword quickly charged towards him, and once Su Ming held it in his hand, he swiftly closed in on Diqian. The murderous aura from the sword in his hand rose into the sky and fused with the sword's aura itself. As it swept through the air, Su Ming cracked the sword like a whip on Diqian's body, but right at the moment the sword strike was about to reach him, a freezing glare appeared in Diqian's dazed eyes and they became filled with clarity. There was not a hint of blankness in him. The illusion of Great Yu dynasty. I had personally joined in the fight to destroy the Great Yu dynasty all those years ago and had even brought you away from it. This illusion is too weak. As Diqian spoke calmly, he formed a seal with his right hand and pressed towards the incoming sword aura. I am the heavens. All manner of living exists beneath the sky. Under my rule, all the living are given different souls. If I am unwilling, I can retrieve those souls. Heavenly deprival of souls. At the moment these cool words that did not hold a hint of emotion tumbled out of Di Qian's lips, he pointed at the sword aura with his right index finger. At the instant his finger touched the sword, Su Ming heard a shrill scream of pain coming from the small virescent sword in his hand. The sword also became dimmer in an instant, as if its soul was rapidly disappearing from within. That one finger shot through the sword aura and charged straight towards Su Ming. In the time of crisis, he swiftly lifted the sword in his hand and bit his left index finger. At the same moment he started fighting against Di Qian's finger, he swiped his left index finger across the blade. By the time he drew that line of blood, Di Qian's finger had already touched the sword. A clear sound rang in the air, and a large amount of cracks appeared on the sword. A strange power came from it, and with a force that seemed as if it could separate a person's soul from its body, that power swept towards Su Ming. Without any hesitation, Su Ming flicked the sword, and a sharp sword whistle reverberated through the air. A wave of sound from the sword also swept towards Di Qian. The sword started shattering, inch by inch, and broke down in Su Ming's hands, but all the sword pieces swept towards Di Qian and crashed into his incoming finger. Loud, booming bangs echoed in the air. Su Ming coughed up blood and his body fell backwards. Di Qian's face grew slightly colder and darker. "You do have a few tricks up your sleeve, but do you have any left now?" Di Qian spoke coldly and took a step towards the pale and rapidly retreating Su Ming, but at the moment he took his second step, Su Ming's body came to an abrupt halt and a dark light shone in his eyes. Di Qian frowned. Then, a roar shot out from the clouds in the sky. It was a dragon's roar, the Crimson Dragon's roar. A crimson dragon of 10,000 feet peered out from the clouds in the sky at that moment and glared at Di Qian. It did not know him, but it could sense the presence of the person who had killed its previous owner stained his body. Roaring, the crimson dragon charged towards Di Qian, but with a calm face, the clone lifted his right hand and swung it forward. The dragon's soul formed by Hong Luo's earth and aura divine ability, dust to dust, earth to earth. There will be no second sovereign in the world. He spoke calmly, but the moment his words were voiced, a shudder ran through his body, and a look of disbelief appeared in his face. The divine ability he had just cast had not been brought outwards, but had instead appeared within him. It was like self-mutilation, as if someone had just cast the exact same art right in his face. It was used right back on him, and during that instant, Di Qian's body became slightly faded out. The crimson dragon let out a low roar, and seizing that chance, it closed in on Di Qian, with its mouth wide open. As it roared, its body swept through the land. A glint appeared in Su Ming's eyes. He knew exactly what had happened to Di Qian, because during moments before, he had sensed a hint of the small black humanoid's presence. He did not have time to think about how the small black humanoid had managed to do this though, because he could not waste this chance. Closing in, Su Ming lifted his right hand. At the instant he raised his right index finger and closed in on Di Qian. His finger touched the center of the clone's brows. However, right when his finger touched him, a powerful rebound crashed straight into his body. Blood trickled out of the corner of Su Ming's lips, and his body fell backwards. The Crimson Dragon went through the same series of events. As the power crashed into it and it was sent flying backwards, the waves of power that came from the earth and aura dragon vein had not even managed to injure a single hair on Di Qian's body. Instead, the Crimson Dragon had suffered a powerful rebound, but it went charging right back at him again, and was sent hurtling back once more. After a few times, its body shrank greatly and it even showed signs of withering away. Di Qian's face grew as dark as thunderclouds. He simply allowed Su Ming and the Crimson Dragon to attack, not bothering with them. Instead, he lifted his right hand and struck his chest. With it, a shrill scream of pain came from within his body. Then, right from his back, a small black humanoid started being forced out, its body crumbling. Just as it was about to be completely kicked out, nine-headed dragon. Su Ming shouted, and immediately, an endless amount of bell chimes came from the clouds in the sky. When another chime sounded, as the clouds in the sky tumbled in the air, a bell that was several thousands of feet in size descended rapidly and covered Di Qian within it. At the same time, the nine-headed dragon's illusion manifested in the sky. The awakened heads roared and spat out an innumerable amount of vengeful souls right at Han Mountain Bell. The vengeful spirits filled the sky and earth, surrounded Han Mountain Bell, and even shot through the bell to charge towards Di Qian. At that moment, Di Qian lifted his head and roared. Immediately, the small black humanoid broke down and was completely forced out of his body. But during that instant, a red glare that even Di Qian himself did not notice charged straight towards him. The red glare was too fast and had already reached a distance of less than 3 feet from Di Qian. The clone waved his arm, and the red glare distorted slightly before it started using its body to resist the power from Di Qian's swing. But, with a bang, that red glare broke down and turned into a bloody mess. It was the small snake. Yet even though its body had broken down, its head still remained. It bit down on Di Qian's hand, causing his left hand to instantly turn black. Di Qian's face filled with rage. He had never been in such a pathetic state before, and it was especially humiliating since his level of cultivation surpassed Su Ming's by quite a large margin. But right then, due to his many moves, Di Qian had been injured. Men's revolution can be replaced by the heavens. This is what it means for the heavens to take over men. Di Qian's voice echoed in the air, and the power within him erupted. This caused the small snake that had managed to injure him to shatter. The awakened heads from the 9-headed dragon rushed into Han Mountain Bell right as the small snake was about to die and opened their mouths wide to devour Di Qian. A loud, violent bang reverberated in the world for a long, long time and did not disappear. Instead, that sound became even greater. For the first time, a large amount of damage appeared on Han Mountain Bell, and it shattered. Its broken pieces could be gathered together once again, but clearly, they no longer contained the spiritual aura the bell once possessed. The 9-headed dragon let out a shrill cry of pain and exploded, turning into wisps of fog that surged out in all directions. Chapter 587, The Ninth Gift. Han Mountain Bell was sent back. The 9-headed dragon disintegrated. The small candle dragon only had its head remaining and not much life force left. At that moment, it was tossed far away. Anger appeared on Di Qian's face. This sort of disheveled state was something that was incredibly rarely seen on his person. "You're just an imitation of the Great Eastern Wasteland Desert Bell. How dare you try and seal me?" Di Qian's hair was a mess. His left hand had originally been black, but was rapidly regaining its actual skin color. Black liquid fell from the 2 wounds from the small snake, and by the looks of it, before long, he would be completely recovered. Right at the moment Di Qian took a huge step forward, and in his anger was fully intent to end what he believed was a farce, a chilling glare appeared in Su Ming's eyes. Immediately, as the clouds in the sky tumbled, a shocking, thunderous roar traveled forth. At the instant it sounded, a gigantic bolt of lightning crashed on Di Qian with an unbelievable speed and loud, rumbling sounds. Di Qian's pupils shrank, and he instantly vanished. Right then, a deafening thunderclap rose into the air, and the place where Di Qian had been standing shattered completely. Su Ming seized the air with his right hand, but at that moment, a great sense of danger rose swiftly within him. Without a single bit of hesitation, the welcoming of deities immediately appeared in his hand and he swallowed it. At that moment, Di Qian walked out from the space behind him and lifted his right hand. Then, with a superior might that could not be withstood, he pushed his palm straight towards the top of Su Ming's skull. The space around Su Ming was completely sealed off by this attack, causing it to be absolutely impossible for him to dodge the fatal blow. Once he was struck, he would lose all his memories. When he woke up again, perhaps he would still be him, but he would also no longer be himself. The hand came towards him, and Su Ming's fate seemed to be sealed. However, there was no absolute certainty in the world, and accidents could happen in every situation, including those that seemed certain. Almost at the instant Di Qian thought his palm would hit Su Ming without a single obstacle, it was less than 3 inches away from the top of his skull. After all, suddenly, a ray of golden light swiftly spread out from Su Ming's body. There were 5 layers to this golden light, and when it spread out, the first layer that touched Di Qian's hand shattered, but within the circle that was closer to Su Ming, another layer appeared. As the light screens shattered, more would appear, and they continuously spread out. Within that short instant, the layers had shattered several tens of thousands of times, but they never disintegrated. The seal always stayed. This golden screen of light that would eternally exist with those 5 layers reappearing in an endless cycle was naturally the 5-direction seal that held down the second god of Berserker's left hand. If this seal could hold down the god of Berserker's left hand, then there was no way that Di Qian's clone would be able to break its might within a short period of time. Su Ming's qi continuously rose within the screen of light. At that moment, the qi that was spreading out from his body after he swallowed the welcoming of deities was that belonging to the second god of Berserkers. Di Qian was incredibly familiar with it, and his expression changed. But right at the moment his expression changed, the 9-holed cauldron appeared once again from the clouds in the sky. As of then, only 3 of the 4 original filled holes were brimming with lightning. Once it appeared, a red flash of lightning came crackling down from the sky and charged towards Di Qian. I didn't expect that you would have divine will's lightning. As I thought, destiny, I can really give you no chance. But this divine will's lightning and that 5-direction seal should be your last tricks. I'd like to see just how you will fight against me when I break your 5-direction seal. So, the second god of Berserker's inheritance, Hem? With his intellect, Di Qian could tell with just a glance that this 5-direction seal was not under Su Ming's control. This thing had appeared to protect him just because the second god of Berserker's qi had risen within Su Ming's body at that moment. He might be referring to it as a protection, but it was in truth sealing Su Ming within. The person inside could not get out, but the people outside could not get in either. Yet to Di Qian, the 5-direction seal's existence was protecting Su Ming at that moment. That was why, even though he knew that this thing was actually a seal, he still chose to try and break it open. With his power, perhaps he would be unable to do so within a short amount of time, but when he lifted his head and cast a glance at the lightning in the sky, a cold sneer appeared on his lips. He lifted his right hand, pointed towards the lightning, then lifted his left hand and pushed it towards the screen of light that belonged to the 5-direction seal. With a loud bang, the red lightning struck Di Qian. He jolted forward and lightning filled his entire body in an instant. It swam through him and left through his left hand, crashing onto the 5-direction seal. Soon after, another bolt of lightning crashed down. Di Qian let out a low growl and clenched his left hand into a fist. At the moment the lightning sparks gathered on his body, he rammed his fist against the 5-direction seal. It had begun cracking due to the lightning earlier, and as it continuously crumbled and shattered, when that punch landed, its speed as it repaired itself started showing signs that it could not keep up with the rate of destruction. There were no longer 5 layers of light that appeared outside. Only 3 remained. Su Ming could not dodge. He might be in the 5-direction seal, but the area around him was frozen up, resulting in him being unable to retreat, unable to resist, unable to struggle, but he did not plan to do so. Instead, with calm eyes, he stared at Di Qian's actions. The black stone fragment on his neck was flashing. Within this temporary period of safety, Su Ming had time to change his plans. At that moment, the final bolt of lightning came crashing down. Right when it came in contact with Di Qian, a glint appeared in the clone's eyes. He lifted his right hand, about to touch the screen of light and have this divine will's lightning add to the power of his cultivation base before channeling it to Su Ming so that he would get a taste of his own medicine, while Di Qian himself remained uninjured. An event that was completely out of his expectations happened. A cold sneer appeared at the corners of Su Ming's lips, and during the instant Di Qian wanted to have him suffer the might of the divine lightning, a dark ray of light surrounded his body and he disappeared without a trace. Once he disappeared, the 5-direction seal dissipated, and because of that, the place where Di Qian was about to send the power from the divine lightning was gone. Di Qian's pupils shrank. Lightning erupted abruptly within his body and filled him entirely, causing blood to flow out from his mouth for the first time ever since the battle had started. Because of the lightning, his body also became numb, and during that instant, his cultivation base froze for a moment. If it had been any other moment, this would not have mattered, but right then, almost the moment Di Qian's plan failed, Su Ming reappeared in midair. He had stepped into the dimension in the stone fragment and had taken out the welcoming of deities when he was in it. That was why the 5-direction seal did not stop him when he reappeared. With a single move, he charged towards Di Qian. Di Qian, this is the 9th gift I've prepared for you. Su Ming's face was freezing cold. Killing intent shone in his eyes, and he pressed his left hand, with the black lines, straight at the center of Di Qian's brows. A loud boom that shook the skies reverberated in the air. As Di Qian roared in anger, Su Ming coughed up blood, but just when it seemed like he was about to be sent flying off by the rebound, he lifted his right hand, and a black bone spike took shape. This was the god of Berserker's spike. It was the one and only god of Berserker's spike Sai Ma Xin had hold on to. The instant Su Ming was sent back, he warped, and without caring about the injuries on his body, he sent that god of Berserker's spike straight into Di Qian's chest. Chapter 588. Difficult. The god of Berserker's spike was entirely black. A chilling air spread out from its body, and a chilling drop of water was also forced out from within it. It exuded a wave of bitterness and madness that surged into the skies. That bitterness came from the second god of Berserkers, his unwillingness to die, and the madness came from the pain when he was torn apart. That bone spike contained the second god of Berserker's bitterness and madness, and its might was astonishing. At that moment, Su Ming drove that spike into Di Qian's chest while throwing all caution to the wind. The spike pierced through the emperor's robe on Di Qian's body, and plunging 3 inches into him, entered his flesh and blood. During that instant, the god of Berserker's bitterness and madness surged into Di Qian's body with a bang, causing him to shudder. At the same time, a muffled groan escaped his lips, and his face turned pale. This could not be seen with the naked eye, but with the divine sense, Su Ming could sense a shadow appearing next to Di Qian's body. The appearance of it was indistinct, but at that moment, it surrounded the clone's entire body. It had its arms wrapped around Di Qian, as if it had seized his soul and wanted to yank it straight out of his body. That shadow was formed from the second god of Berserker's bitterness. It did not have any will, but clearly had a hate towards Di Qian that was engraved straight into the core of its being. As it surrounded him, it let out roars that could only be heard by divine senses. The god of Berserker's spike melted swiftly, seeping rapidly into the wound on Di Qian's chest, but right when it was about to fully do so, a strong ray of golden light swiftly flashed from Di Qian's body. Due to it, Su Ming saw a jade pendant hanging right above Di Qian's chest. That jade was entirely gold, and it was naturally the thing that was letting out that strong ray of golden light. It spread out, and a wave of power that caused Su Ming to tremble exploded abruptly. Under the golden light, the melted god of Berserker's spike tumbled backwards, forced out. The second's bitterness-filled spirit that was wrapped around Di Qian was also forced back as that golden light spread out. As it shone on Su Ming, a bang went off in his head. He involuntarily took a few steps back, then bit down hard on the tip of his tongue and made himself immediately regain his senses. At the same time, he seized the air, and the spiked club manifested itself. He grabbed it, lifted, and then sent down crashing right down on Di Qian. At that moment, his eyes were filled with red, and he looked incredibly pathetic, but there was a presence that screamed of an unwillingness to submit about him. When he lifted the spiked club, he sent it straight down on Di Qian with a sharp whistling sound that pierced the ears. With a loud bang, the spiked club struck Di Qian, but it had been seized by the clone when he lifted his left hand. Su Ming did not hesitate. Almost the moment Di Qian grabbed the spiked club, a low growl tumbled out of Su Ming's lips. Explode! Su Ming endured the pain in his heart for having to do so and activated the divine sense he had left in the spiked club, causing it to explode with a loud bang, and the impact that was formed swept towards Di Qian. Su Ming could not move forward as that impact swept towards his opponent. He was forced to take a few steps back. When he did so, Di Qian also sank into a disheveled state. He had endured the full impact of that spiked club's explosion, but even though the golden light was spreading through the area, none of it shone directly on him. At that moment, he was still standing in midair, but there was a deep gash on his chest, and it could be seen that his face was pale. "You're asking for it!" Di Qian roared. With golden light shining all over him, he took a step towards Su Ming. At the instant his foot landed, Su Ming's heart let out a thump and almost collapsed. If he had not offered his entire body up as a sacrifice during the bone sacrifice realm, that one step would have caused his heart to explode. Yet even so, Su Ming still staggered. While he took a few steps backwards once again, Di Qian had already closed in on him. The clone did not cast any divine abilities, but instead lifted his right hand and went on to seize Su Ming's throat. He was so quick that his hand closed in on him in an instant. But right when he was about to take hold of the neck, Su Ming's right hand swiftly shot up to fight against him. Due to that one block, Su Ming's right hand was grabbed by Di Qian and all his bones in that hand crushed. Then, Di Qian swung him into the air and tossed him towards the island underneath. Su Ming's body was sent charging down like a shooting star, and he crashed onto the ground with a bang. The island started trembling violently, and its edges completely shattered, then was swallowed by the sea. Did you honestly think that I wouldn't kill you? Di Qian cast a glance at his own chest. The sharp stab of pain was still there, and during that instant just now, Su Ming had actually managed to make the shadow of death loom over his head. If his real self had not given him a treasure to protect his body before he descended, even if he had not died from that god of berserker's spike, he would have definitely been gravely wounded. Su Ming's level of cultivation might not pose much of a threat to him, but the attacks he executed and the items he had brought had caused Di Qian to be shocked. The instant Su Ming's body touched the ground, he lifted his right hand and pushed it towards the ground. As a rumbling sound echoed in the air, blood trickled out of his mouth, and he resisted against the force of Di Qian's throw with much difficulty. His entire right hand was twisted out of shape, and a sharp pain shot through his entire being, making cold sweat break out on his forehead. As he dispersed the power of Di Qian's throw, he coughed up a huge mouthful of blood once again, and his face gained an even paler shade, making him look just like a dead person. The great difference between their power caused it to be absolutely impossible for Su Ming to win against Di Qian's clone. As he retreated, Di Qian closed in on him once again with a dark expression. His eyes were cold, merciless. However, there was no despair on Su Ming's face. Instead, an even greater fighting spirit surged up within him, and his eyes looked as if a ball of fire had kindled within them. Almost at the same moment Di Qian closed in, Su Ming lifted his right hand and swung it forward. With this move, the time around his right hand reversed, and it started reverting to its original state from the distorted mess it was at the moment. He was not healing himself, merely forcing the dislocated and fractured parts of his bones back to where they belonged with the power of bone sacrifice. That sort of pain was even stronger than the pain he suffered when he was injured. If you want my life, then you will have to pay a price you cannot endure. While enduring the intense pain, Su Ming swung his lifted right hand at the sky. Sun Genesis. With that one swing, wind immediately started blowing among the clouds in the sky. As it howled, it filled the entire area before forming a gigantic whirlwind that charged straight towards Di Qian. Lunar Burial. Su Ming pushed his left hand down on the ground, and once it looked as if he had seized the ground, he yanked his hand upwards. With it, the second whirlwind stirred up out of nowhere and swept up everything around it, causing the seawater around the island to be pushed back and a violent gust of wind to come charging forward. Right at the center between the whirlwind from the land and the whirlwind from the sky was Di Qian. As the two whirlwinds howled in the air, they swiftly crashed into each other. At the instant they did so, Di Qian let out a cold harumph. With my orders, I will make the sky not possess a second sun and the earth to not move in another direction. This is what it means to have no second sovereign. All dust and earth, all wind and clouds, all space and air, listen to my orders. Scatter. As Di Qian spoke, he formed a seal with his right hand and pointed forward. Immediately, a loud sound came from the sky. That sound was deafening to the ears, and it sounded as if the sky was roaring, as if all lives in the world were howling, and there was only one word within this sound: scatter. That word sounded like the entire heaven's will, like an emperor's orders that would not allow anyone to question his will. It sounded like all the lives in the world roaring at the same time, and at the moment that sound appeared, the whirlwinds from the sky and earth crashed into each other. But before any form of sound could come from their crash, the two gusts of wind turned into nothingness and vanished right before Su Ming's eyes. The island where Su Ming was standing also vanished, turning into emptiness. The entire sky also disappeared at that instant, as if it had ceased to exist. Su Ming did not even have a chance to cast the third style of wind separation. When the first two styles turned into broken pieces and died away, Di Qian closed in on him from this emptiness, and a hand pressed down on the top of Su Ming's skull. A hoarse, stern voice reverberated in this completely empty world. All that has been changed will now be wiped away. Su Ming simply did not have a chance to resist. His body seemed to be frozen in midair, and even if he did possess more divine abilities, he could not resist. The hand had already pressed down on the top of his skull. All the mistakes in your path will now be rectified. With a loud bang, a massive amount of power surged into Su Ming's head, to seal up and sweep away everything, to go about bringing order to this so-called chaos. All of your memories in this life will scatter. The memories gradually became mixed up, as if this power was throwing everything into chaos. It left Su Ming's will in chaos, causing his mind to go blank once again, after layers of seals were placed on him. I will now grant you, Before Di Qian could finish speaking, a cry of surprise suddenly came from him. The thing that caused this was nothing else but the scenes from the Candle Dragon's undying and imperishable world, which he saw while wiping away Su Ming's memories. The undying and imperishable world, the resistance brought forth by his will, the desire to continue living, the roars that continued reminding him to never forget who he was, and the repeated I am Su Ming carved millions of times onto the Candle Dragon's gigantic stone statue. This caused a great resistance to burst forth from Su Ming's body, as Di Qian continued trying to wipe his memories away. This resistance was Su Ming's will, the unwillingness to submit and forget his own mind during those reincarnations and struggles, and was also his roar of rage towards fate. I am Su Ming. No one can wipe away my memories. No one can make me sink into that blankness once again. No one can snatch away everything that belongs to me. A loud bang went off in Su Ming's head, and during that instant, he regained consciousness. The world before his eyes shattered, and the empty sky turned into clouds. The disappeared island appeared under his feet once more. The sounds of the waves reverberated in his ears again, and everything except the whirlwinds returned to normal. Chapter 589. Powerful. If it was not for the Candle Dragon's undying and imperishable world, Su Ming would have, at this point, sunk down, and he would be able to do nothing about it. Perhaps, when he woke up, he would be facing an unfamiliar dark mountain, and it might not even be known as Dark Mountain anymore, but there would still be some place waiting for him to rouse from his sleep. Then, he would continue growing. Perhaps he would also experience destruction, and go through many other things. Perhaps he would also discover a pair of eyes watching him in the dark. Perhaps he would be able to arrive to the point where he was now again, but perhaps he would have to walk on the path others dictated for him and become destiny again. However, Hong Luo's appearance was like a perfectly laid out plan. A sudden accident happened, and it caught everyone by surprise. No one had been able to predict it beforehand. That was why Di Qian's first clone had spared no pains in appearing, and all of it was for the sake of returning things to their original course. He succeeded, because Hong Luo died, but he also failed, because Su Ming rose from his slumber. The awakened Su Ming completely broke off from Di Qian's control. From then on, all the things he experienced were due to his own luck, and not because of anyone else's plans. It was especially so for the undying and imperishable world. The actions which Di Qian's servant had thought were clever, in fact, made the will of this person, who fought and struggled and crawled his way out of those cycles of reincarnations, to be incredibly rare. When Su Ming regained his consciousness, the shock in Di Qian's heart caused him to look at Su Ming with an incredibly grave expression on his face. This young man had given him far too many surprises during their meeting this time. First, he had been able to injure him, and then had managed to regain his consciousness after he had sunk into oblivion. All of these things caused that grave expression on Di Qian's face, and at the same time, one thought in his mind grew stronger. No matter what, I will have to make him change today, or else, if he has more time, then unless my real self comes. Only a few years have went by, and he's already changed so much. Destiny, as expected of Destiny, a member of the Abyss Builders. A freezing glare shone in Di Qian's eyes, and he lifted his right hand swiftly to point at Su Ming, who had begun swiftly retreating once he regained his senses. The wanderer who has returned to his path, the fog shall be your eye, and the heavens shall be your guide. This shall be Heaven Maze. Di Qian's voice was filled with a strange rhythm. Right when he swept his finger through the air, a ball of green manifested around him. Green threads swiftly shot out and covered the entire area in the blink of an eye. It looked like a giant ball of threads, and they enveloped the entire area, filling up the world. It seemed as if they were traveling incredibly slowly, but were in truth spreading outwards at an extremely fast pace towards Su Ming, looking as if they wanted to wrap him up in multiple layers. Su Ming could no longer see Di Qian before him. The entire area around him was filled with the incoming green threads, and he could not run from them, could not hide from them. Su Ming's face was pale, and his right hand was still throbbing with intense pain. His breathing was ragged, but there was not a hint of despair in his eyes. The sparkling light within them was like starlight, and they were burning brilliantly, showing off his fighting spirit. It was a demeanor that cried out that even if he died, he would die standing, would laugh and have absolutely no regrets. I can die, but even if I die, I will make you pay. If I die, I will make you immortals bleed seas of blood that will reach the sky. If I die, I will make this heaven be deprived of all thoughts forever. Su Ming laughed loudly. The green threads quickly spread out, and right at the instant they were less than 100 feet away from him, he lifted his right hand, opened his mouth and spat something out. A fan immediately appeared in his hand. It looked as if it was formed from an endless amount of feathers, and light was spilling out from it. With a swing, the fan immediately grew larger, and holding it, Su Ming swung his hand in the direction in front of him. That fan was indeed the one he had snatched from Sima Xin, and it was a treasure that was created personally by the second god of berserkers. It was also an item that belonged to Su Ming. The three barren arts of heaven, earth, and man, heaven barrenness. With that one swing of the fan, a deafening roar came from the sky covered by the rolling clouds. The sky shattered, inch by inch, and it turned pitch black. That swing of the fan looked as if it had caused the sky to tumble backwards, layer by layer. The shattered spots looked as if they had been swept up, causing the entire sky to look as if it had been completely lifted. The broken pieces fused with the power of the sky, and as they were swept up by the fan, they all charged towards the green threads. Loud rumbling echoed in the air. The power of heaven barrenness had lifted the sky as if it was just a curtain, dragging up the green threads as it did. In the midst of the rumbling, the green threads that had spread out all around Su Ming trembled simultaneously. The three great barren arts of heaven, earth, and man, earth barrenness. Su Ming swung the fan in his hand once again, and vibrations shook through the fan. As it trembled, the island under his body let out a loud bang. Then, as the seawater roared and churned, it was swept up from the sea as Su Ming swung that fan upwards. The island had shrank, but it was still an island and a small mass of land. Rumbling sounds surged into the sky, and with a buzzing sound, the island flew upright from the surface of the sea, bringing with it an endless amount of seawater that poured down just like a curtain of rain. Moments after, the ground on the island shattered, turning into an uncountable amount of crushed stone pieces that crashed into the green threads once again. The strongest bang came from under the sky and above the earth. It brought forth a presence that could destroy everything, and with Su Ming at its center, it swept through all directions. Su Ming's face turned a lot paler, but he did not stop moving his hands. Instead, he swung the fan again, and this time, he brought out the final style in the divine ability contained within this weapon, the style that even Sima Xin had not been able to cast. The three great barren arts of heaven, earth, and man, man barrenness. At the moment this art was cast, the shattered world roared. The endless amount of crushed stone shot through the green threads and charged towards Su Ming. In the blink of an eye, it covered his entire body and gathered into a gigantic head with Su Ming at its center. The face it showed was the exact same as his. The shattered sky also fused into the gigantic earthen head's eyes, causing them to shine with a brilliant light. At the instant the head was formed, Su Ming opened his mouth and breathed out a puff of air towards the sullen Di Qian standing not too far away from him. That puff of air turned into black wind that swept towards the clone, and it could break the sky, destroy the earth, and extinguish the flames of life. The second god of berserkers' divine ability. Di Qian looked darkly at Su Ming. As he watched the black gust of wind Su Ming had breathed out turning into a layer of black fog as it closed in on him, Di Qian let out a cold harumph. A pity. If the second had been the one to cast this, then this body of mine that is merely a clone would have been unable to fight against it. But if you are the one to cast it, then it will simply be too weak. As Di Qian spoke, he lifted his left hand and cut down towards the black fog coming towards him. With that single slash, the black fog started trembling swiftly. Its middle portion instantly caved in, opening up a crack due to the invisible slash. At the same time this happened, Diaiqian took a step towards that fog, and he was so fast that he moved through in an instant, appearing right before the gigantic earthen head that Su Ming had brought out. He lifted his right hand and pushed his palm against the center of its brows. "Cloud sweep," Diaiqian said flatly. At the instant his hand touched the gigantic head, his entire body sank into it. Without a single pause, once he went through, he moved towards the deeper parts of the head. A loud bang traveled out from the head at that moment, and countless cracks marred its surface. Eventually, it was torn to pieces and exploded. Yet the moment it exploded, the fingers of Diaiqian's right hand touched the 5-layered golden screen of light. It flashed viciously, but even as it continuously shattered and broke, it managed to force Diaiqian back. Numerous crushed stones fell from the sky. Golden light filled the air, with Su Ming standing within it, and the presence that belonged to the second god of berserkers could be clearly felt from him. During that most critical period, Su Ming did not hesitate to fuse with the welcoming of deities once again, causing his presence and body to change. He looked just like the second god of berserkers. This again. As Diaiqian retreated, his facial expression turned incredibly dark. Su Ming's 5-direction seal was an incredible headache to him. It was precisely because of this that Su Ming had managed to drive the god of berserkers spike into his body. In fact, even up to now, that wound had yet to heal, and was even continuously worsening, up to the point where it was already affecting his ability to bring out his power. "Do you really think I can't break this art? If it was the seal that was placed all those years ago by Sir Dao Chen, I wouldn't be able to break it. But now, the soul in this item has long since dissipated, it won't be difficult for me to open it. Heaven protects and establishes thee, that in everything thou dost prosper. May thy blessings come to thee tall alike the high hills and alike the mountain masses, eternal alike the topmost ridges, alike the greatest bulks, and alike the stream ever coming on, that there may none of thee that shalt not increase. Thou art alike the moon in the sky eternal, never waning, alike the sun rising in the east, never falling, alike the southern hills enjoying longevity, never ruined or destroyed. Thou art alike the luxuriant fir and cypress, may good fortune and longevity be with thee. The 9 alikes as spoken in heaven's protections will be what I shall bestow upon you." Diaiqian formed seals with both his hands, and as he said those words, each time he said the word alike, he would swiftly change a seal, and only once he finished saying the 9 alikes did he finish forming all the seals. As he pushed the art forward, 9 gigantic alikes appeared in the air before him. Alike. These 9 words exuded an ancient air, along with a primitive presence. At the same time they appeared, Diaiqian's clone aged by quite a few years. Clearly, this art of the 9 alikes as spoken in heaven's protections was something extraordinary. Or else he would not have used Su Ming's divine will's lightning to try and break the seal earlier instead of casting this art himself. As Diaiqian pointed forward, the 9 words charged towards Su Ming in a flash. Su Mint did not dodge. Instead, with a glint in his eyes, he allowed the 9 words to crash onto the screen of light of the 5-direction seal. At the instant these 9 words pressed down, the screen of light stopped shining. Instead, it swiftly disappeared from around Su Ming's body. He did not understand the principle behind its disappearance, but he sensed the presence of life from those 9 words. The instant the screen of light of the 5-direction seal disappeared, Diaiqian walked over. As for Su Ming, he lifted his head swiftly. The blood at the corners of his lips had yet to dry, but he had been waiting for the moment this screen of light would disappear. This seal might be used for defense, but Su Ming did not want to defend, he wanted to attack. That was why he allowed Diaiqian to stifle the screen of light. When it disappeared and Diaiqian came over, Su Ming lifted his head, opened his mouth, and with his body that had now turned into the second god of berserkers, he let out a roar. The god of berserkers roar. Chapter 590, Abyss Sword. It was not as if Su Ming had never thought about running before, but while the world might be big, where would he be able to run to? For how long would he be able to run? Putting aside the fact that it was already incredibly difficult for him to run away from Diaiqian, just this great disaster itself was already something impossible for him to escape. This was a disaster. He could not run from it, and neither did he want to run from it. It was not as if he was doomed, beyond redemption because of this disaster, and neither was it a form of suppression where he did not have an ounce of strength to fight back, because he could fight back. In fact, he had even managed to injure Di Qian. He was even just a hair-breadth away from dealing a heavy blow on his opponent. This chance might not happen again, but Su Ming would not retreat. Why should I be afraid of death? Even if I die, my will shall wake up again when I am reincarnated. Even if I die, I will still stand here and fight against fate. At the instant the screen of light dissipated, Su Ming's roar turned into a sound wave resisting against fate. It contained his will, his life, and all the unwillingness to submit to fate born throughout his life. Roar! Even someone as powerful as Di Qian was also forced to come to a halt under that sound wave. His robes fluttered, and his hair danced in the air. What shocked him was not the power of that roar, but the presence of unwillingness to submit contained within it. Unwilling, Once you sink, once you become obedient, I will make you willing. Di Qian narrowed his eyes and walked towards Su Ming. He had grown impatient by now, and decided to end this battle with brute force. With his fastest speed, he would restore the chaos in Su Ming, thus allowing himself to feel at ease and fight with the other clone against his clan's archenemy, the evil sect in Eastern Wastelands. When he moved forward, a black sea of fire appeared under his feet. It burned furiously and covered the entire area. Wherever it went, everything would be burned to ashes. The Dead Sea also started boiling, and a large amount of steam filled the air like fog. With an incredibly domineering presence, Di Qian stormed toward Su Ming, as the black sea of fire spread out. With each step, his presence would surge like waves, as if there was no power in the world that could make him stop at that moment. Su Ming lifted his left hand and pushed at the sky. With it, an ancient glow appeared in his eyes. He remembered the second god of Berserker's warm left hand. God of Berserkers, palm lines, Su Ming said softly. As his words traveled forth and Di Qian closed in on him, as the black sea of fire surged into the sky between the two of them, black trails swiftly appeared. They intersected with each other, looking like black fine threads. As they filled the air, they turned into gigantic palm lines. They formed the outline of a palm, and that was the god of Berserker's palm. As Di Qian approached and as the black sea of fire spread out, the huge hand formed by the palm lines in the sky pressed down on him. It was so quick that it closed in on him in an instant. From the distance, this was a shocking picture to see. The hand was pressing downwards, and right from within the flames surging into the sky Di Qian was walking out. He did not even bother looking at the palm lines in the sky. When he walked towards Su Ming, he simply allowed them to close in. However, the sea of fire by his side rose up all around him, charging straight towards the sky to crash into those palm lines. The clash between the god of Berserker's palm lines and the sea of fire caused the booming sounds in the world to reach their extreme. This was a fight between two forces of power. At the instant they came into contact with each other, booming sounds shook the entire area, stirring up a wave of impact that swept towards the Dead Sea underneath, sweeping sideways across its surface, and causing a huge whirlpool right under Su Ming and Di Qian. The whirlpool spun with loud, rumbling sounds, and the submerged ground could even be seen deep underneath. Your growth might have exceeded my expectations, but you are still too weak. With each step Di Qian took, the palm lines in the sky collapsed under the sea of fire's impact. Blood trickled out of Su Ming's mouth, and as he retreated, Di Qian vanished. When he reappeared, he was already standing right behind Su Ming. He lifted his right hand and waved his arm. Immediately, Su Ming's body started going towards Di Qian against his will. Let's end this battle. But right at that moment, Di Qian's pupils shrank, and he moved 4 steps backwards without any hesitation. At the instant he retreated, flames covered every single inch of Su Ming's body. He was burning. He had just set his blood ablaze, lit fire on his own cultivation base. Just as Sai Ma Xin had done before, Su Ming had set his blood ablaze to stimulate the strongest power within the inheritance from the second god of Berserkers. It could be said to be the god of Berserkers' transformation. Fusing with the welcoming of deities had just allowed him to obtain the inheritance so that he could use the god of Berserkers' divine abilities. If he wanted to bring out their full potential, Su Ming would need time to grow, just like Sai Ma Xin. If he wanted to execute those divine abilities forcefully, then he would need to go through the god of Berserker's transformation, to set his blood ablaze and turn into the god of Berserkers. As Su Ming was engulfed by flames, the color of his hair started interchanging between black and white. His body was wrecked by shivers when he lifted his head, cold callousness, along with madness, could be seen in his eyes. With a single step, he appeared right before Di Qian and hurled his fist towards him. At the instant he did so, Di Qian frowned, lifted his foot, and kicked Su Ming's leg. With a bang, Su Ming retreated several steps back, but his fist had already landed on Di Qian's body. However, right at that instant, golden light shone on the clone's body, and he was completely uninjured. Di Qian narrowed his eyes and walked towards Su Ming. He suddenly had a huge fondness towards Su Ming's current behavior. The more unwilling he was to submit, the more interested he was in making him submit. This made him feel incredibly good. He did not move quickly at that moment, but with each step he took, a layer of ripples would appear in the air, as if the sky itself had turned into water. When Su Ming fell backwards, he lifted his right hand and pressed his palm against his chest. The blood he coughed up was sent into the sky with a swing of his arm. God of Berserker's alteration towards the stars, sun, and moon, disaster of the stars. As Su Ming spoke, an entire group of stars immediately appeared in the torn clouds and the darkened sky. These stars glowed, and once they covered the entire sky, starlight descended swiftly, as if the stars itself had fallen, causing a wave of murderous aura to swiftly fill up the entire area. Along with that murderous aura was the seemingly corporeal starlight. As it shone on the ground, a strange picture took shape. Within it were all the rays of starlight twisting and distorting before they all charged towards Di Qian like sharp arrows. Anyone looking over would find the arrows that were formed from the starlight that filled the entire sky dazzling. The murderous aura would also surge into their bodies and cause their cultivation bases to freeze. Di Qian's pupils shrank. Almost at the instant the murderous aura and the sharp arrows closed in on him, he opened his mouth and spoke. Stars have their own courses, and starlight has places where even it cannot shine. With my orders, I, Di Qian, announce this place where no starlight will shine. This is what it means to have each word I say turned into law. Once he finished, every single word he uttered turned into a runic symbol that flew out of his mouth and disappeared into nothingness. Right then, the murderous aura from the disaster of the stars which Su Ming had executed vanished without a trace. The starlight also turned into darkness in an instant, and even the starry sky became indistinct. It was as if a law had been changed, causing Su Ming's divine ability to be forcefully halted. You should be proud that you actually managed to make me use the power of law. What other divine abilities do you have? Bring them out, let me see, just what you have learned during the days I did not see you. Di Qian walked towards Su Ming slowly and spoke with a calm expression. Bitterness filled Su Ming's heart. As he watched Di Qian walk over, he gritted his teeth, lifted his right hand, and struck his forehead. With it, the berserker bones within his body started letting out cracking sounds, and as his power spread outwards, he lifted his hands to form the picture of the moon. God of Berserker's alteration towards the stars, sun, and moon slaughter. When Su Ming spoke those words, the muddled sky filled with stars was no longer just an illusion. Once all them faded away, a crescent moon appeared in the night. Almost at the instant it appeared, the exact same shadow of the moon formed by moonlight appeared around Di Qian. It completely enveloped him within, causing his footsteps to come to a halt. He lifted his head and cast a glance at the moon in the sky. Not bad. This art is at least something worthwhile. As he spoke, cracks appeared on his skin, and they appeared right at the moment the moon in the sky started showing signs of crumbling apart. Di Qian's eyes flashed. He lifted his right hand and seized the air. A violet ray of light appeared in his palm, and as it shone, a long violet sword manifested itself. It was 9 feet and 9 inches long. There was a biting cold presence coming from within its long, narrow body, and there was also the majestic might of an emperor spreading out from within it, as if all swords in its presence would have to bow down and worship it, because it was the Emperor of Swords. At the instant that sword appeared, Su Ming felt sharp stab of pain in his heart. He widened his eyes and looked at the sword. He had a sudden strong hunch that this sword was not Di Qian's, But that feeling came out of nowhere, but was extremely powerful, as if the sword was a part of his life. Yet at that moment, the sword was in the clone's hands. Di Qian looked at Su Ming and smiled. He lifted his right hand, and with the sword in his grasp, sliced at the moon in the sky casually. With that one slice, the heavens howled, and time itself suffocated. The moon in the sky exploded with a bang, and even the stars in the sky shattered. The sword had cut down the sky, and a wave of sword aura even came charging down towards Su Ming's head with a sharp whistle. Abyss sword. Not even Di Qian's clone had noticed this, but at that moment, within one of the torn clouds in the sky was an incredibly beautiful woman. She was originally snacking on roasted seeds while watching the battle underneath, but at that instant, she widened her eyes and looked at the sword in Di Qian's hand. Right beside her was a shrunken yellow dragon. It had a look of distress on its face, but was still swallowing every single one of the seed coats the woman threw with extremely agile movements, not missing a single one.